Hi, this is part 2 of factorising quadratics. In the previous lesson we looked at factorising quadratics where we just had an x squared at the front, alright? Well, that's a relatively straightforward kind of process, but it can become increasingly more difficult if you've got something where there is a coefficient or a number in front of the x squared. It just makes it like a little bit more complicated. So for example, factorising 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Well, the 2 causes a problem in that what we put in the brackets therefore has to be different, all right? And it's this process that becomes a little bit more difficult. Now there is a method which is out there called splitting the middle, which by all means please go have a look online and try and find that particular process. However, it's not one I'm a big fan of, and the reason I'm not a particular fan of it is that I've seen questions in exams papers where the number at the front has been 36 and the number at the end has been 35 or something to that effect, and that process becomes very, very difficult if you don't have another kind of something to fall back on. All right, so what I'm recommending is that you basically look at the options and you consider what potentially could be, and most decent mathematicians will probably do this by sight. All right, and what I mean by that is they'll probably look at it, consider the options in their head, and then from there, obviously decide which is the best course of action, all right? So first things first, if you're asked to factorise, it's got to factorise, all right? There's no point in anybody asking to factorise it if it didn't. So what we're going to consider is potentially what's going to go in the brackets. So what's going to go in the brackets is, this is the focus first of all right? I've got to decide what 2 values of x need to go in here, all right? Well, they're always going to be integers, they're always going to be whole numbers. So what 2 numbers times going to give you 2? Well, it can only be 1 and 2. All right, so I'm going to have a 2x and an x. All right, they're the kind of key things. So it must look like a 2x and x. They're the only things that are going to give me 2x squared. All right, and of course there could be other way around. And this is the bit. All right, so 2x and an x. All right, now the concentration goes to the number at the end. Okay, so we're looking for the factors which add to make 5, because the coefficient of x squared stops this method working. All right, so we can't look for the factors which add to make 5 because the coefficient. So so what we're saying here is the 2x and the x. I can't look for the 2 numbers add together to give 5 because I've got a 2 involved. I do need to concentrate, like I said, on the number at the end, the 3. All right, so because I definitely need 2 numbers here and here that are going to multiply to give me 3. That's absolutely imperative. All right, and there is only one option there. This is basically 3 and 1. All right, so this one's a little bit more straightforward because it's 3 and 1. So the question is, does the 3 go there and does the 1 go there? Well, in this case, it absolutely matters. It really matters which side they go in. Okay, and with the previous one, because I had an x and x in both sides, it didn't make any difference. All I need to concentrate was the positive and the negative side of things. But in this case, I must concentrate on where they go, all right? You'll notice that I've got a plus and a plus already kind of written in, and that goes back to one of the rules I kind of mentioned previously in part 1 of the factorising quadratics, in that if both these signs here are positives, then the only thing that these could be is positives, okay? Right, so brackets could look like either of these two. So 2x plus 3 and x plus 1, or 2x plus 1 and x plus 3. All right, so they're my 2 potential options, and I've got to decide which is the best one is right. Okay, so what I'm thinking about is that if I were going to expand it, I'm not, but if I was going to expand it, which one would give me 5x at the end? Okay, right, well, I know the 1 and the 3 give me 3, and I know that the x and the 2x give me the 2x squared. So the other 2, okay, so this is where the nose and the smiley face, the one I talked about when you're expanding a double bracket, kind of comes into play, because they're the ones that I'm looking at. I'll do it again. So that one there and that one there. All right. Well, if I do that one there and that one there, and see it's written the other way around for that one. For the first one, you've got 2x times 1, which is 2x, and then a 3 times x, which is 5x. That gives you 5x. So that is going to be our correct one, isn't it? Because hopefully you can see from there, that's the 5x. All right. But if I just compare it to this one, I've got a 1 and an x and a 3 times a 2. That's going to give me 7x. Well, of course, this one is wrong, isn't it? All right, so that is the one that I'm after, the 5x over here. All right, so that one there is going to give me my solution. All right, so 2x squared plus 5x plus 3, that's the question. Factorised is 2x plus 3 bracket x plus 1. Okay, so that's the kind of way you do it, all right? So be very, very careful, all right? There is something called split in the middle. By all means, kind of look it up. But like I said, it doesn't always work. And this idea of thinking about what values can kind of go into play is a good way to kind of handle it. Let's look at one more where the numbers are positives and minuses and all those kind of things. So here we go. So factorise 3x squared minus 8x plus 4. All right, let's consider the numbers that go into the brackets first of all. Well, I've got a 3x. Well, from that, hopefully you can glean that the two things going into the brackets are a 3x and an x. All right, they're the only two things that are going to give me 3x squared. Then you'll notice I put two minuses in it. Well, how have I decided that they're both minuses? Because this is a positive at the end. All right, so that's what's dictated that. And then I've got to think about what numbers go in here. Now, I've got a bunch of combinations now for 4. It could be 2 and 2, it could be 1 and 4, it could be 4 and 1. All right, so I've got 3 different kind of combinations. So I've got, in fact, I've even got minuses in there, haven't I, potentially? So minus 4 and minus 1 and minus 2 and minus 2. Yeah, so I've got a few variables in terms of getting that. So anyway, so the brackets could look like any of these 3. I've got 3x minus 4 and x minus 1, 3x minus 1 and x minus 4, or 3x minus 2 and x minus 2. All right. So like I said before, what I'm looking for are these 2 and these 2. And what I'm after when I do those is a minus 8. Okay. So let's kind of go through them. So minus 4x and minus 3x, that's going to give me minus 7x, isn't it? All right, so that one's wrong. I've got minus x there, so minus 1x, and minus 12x. Well, that's going to be minus 13x. Well, that's wrong. Well, I guess based on that, this has got to be right, hasn't it? So minus 2x and minus 6x gives me minus 8x. So that's going to be our solution. All right. So there's my answer. 3x minus 2 in a bracket, x minus 2 in a bracket. All right. So I've tested it out and checked it. And like I've said with all the kind of previous ones, you can always check it by multiplying out the entire bracket and making sure you get what you started with, which is this bit at the top. All right. Okay. Well, anyway, that's your kind of a way of kind of approaching it. It will take practice. It will kind of come. So please go to maths-school.co.uk. Get yourself on some of those quizzes. You'll find all the videos and also some content on there for you to kind of practice. And I wish you all the best of luck. Cheers then.